I cannot imagine Trump in handcuffs. I cannot imagine Trump in an orange jumpsuit. And I feel like no matter how this gets resolved, he's not going to serve a day in prison. Former President Donald Trump said Thursday that he's been indicted on charges connected to his handling of classified national security records. Okay, so currently, Trump's legal troubles include a few weeks ago being found liable for sexually assaulting a woman. He's currently being charged by Alvin Bragg, the DA from New York, on campaign violations and for the payments to Stormy Daniels. That's the general idea, the payments to Stormy Daniels, where he took money and paid off Stormy Daniels so she wouldn't talk about the extramarital affair he had, so he could secure the presidency, so the scandal around that would not erupt. The DA over there is trying to charge him with that for improper use of funds, lying on official documents about where those funds went, because they said it was a business expense. Obviously, that's not really a business expense. And of course, there's like the campaign violations of spending money as a campaign cost, paying off Stormy Daniels as a campaign cost, and not registering that with a government official saying that we spent that money. That is a more of a long shot charge, though. The campaign stuff is much more of a long shot charge. And now we have the classified documents case, and now he's being indicted on that as well. So we've got 3 semi-serious court cases railing Donald Trump right now as he's running for president again. This right here is why I don't just say he's got the nomination under lock. This is the reason why. There's going to be enough Republican donors that are going to see all these legal battles against Trump, going to see all the crimes he committed. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot the other one. There's another thing that might develop into something, which is about him trying to pressure the Secretary of State of Georgia into finding him the votes so he could steal the election in 2020. That's another thing that might develop into legal problems for Donald Trump. So he's got all these legal troubles, all these legal problems. And if you're a Republican strategist, right, removing the morality of like, hey, maybe he shouldn't be committing all these crimes. Hey, maybe he shouldn't be having extramarital affairs that he pays off and then tries to like cover up while lying about the money he's using to cover it up. Maybe, he shouldn't sexually assault women. Maybe he putting all these things up. Maybe he shouldn't steal, take classified documents and then not steal the classified document, but take classified documents from the White House, bring them to his Mar-a-Lago beach resort, and then when government officials come to him and say, hey, these are highly classified documents, these are very important documents, you have to give them back. Don't cover it up. Don't say, okay, here you go, and you don't give them all of the documents. Instead of taking all the morality out of it, if you're a Republican strategist, these are huge weights hanging over Donald Trump's head. Huge weights. As much as Donald Trump seems to be scandal-proof, he's scandal-proof with his most devout base. The more trouble he gets into, the polling does correlate. After January 6th, his polling obviously dipped heavily. The more legal trouble he's going to be in, the harder it's going to be to convince independents that A, he's not guilty, and B, he should be president again. And the Republican strategists, not only for the other candidates, for Ron DeSantis, for Tim Scott, for Chris Christie, for everybody else that's running, Nikki Haley, not only are they going to try to, I think, go aggressively after this, if they're going to actually challenge Trump. A lot of them seem to be scared to challenge Trump. The only person who seems not that scared to challenge Trump seem to be the people around Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie. But Chris Christie's not going to be president. Maybe he does some damage to Trump. We're going to talk about that later in today's show. But he can't be president. He's not going to be president. I think that the more legal trouble he gets in, the harder it's going to be for him to plow through the Republican primary. And even more difficult it's going to be to plow through a general, since independents actually have a say there. Former President I think my guy's ready. I think he's here and we can talk to him now. Nope. Is he ready? Okay, now he's ready. Let's talk to him. He wants to talk to me about the Biden.
Mr. Burns, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you doing?
Dude, I am doing phenomenal. I bet you're doing phenomenal too, because I guarantee you've heard the news.
Trump being indicted again?
Yes.
Yeah, we were just talking about it, man. I was just reading the political story. I'm just getting the update. I heard rumors yesterday. I saw some outlets talking about it, but now it's official, and it's from Trump's own mouth. He said,
right.
He said on Truth Social, he's getting ahead of the curve here, because every other time he doesn't get ahead of the curve. Everybody it kind of gets the drop on him, whether it be the raid on his home, whether it be the other indictments, whether it be the him being found liable for sexual assault. Who knows what it's going to be next? Maybe weapons smuggling. Who knows with him? But he's indicted again. Man, this is crazy, isn't it? I mean, what is this?
Dude,
it's like this is three separate legal things. I mean, we just got off the sexual assault case. And we've got the Alvin Bragg New York case still going on with him.
34 indictments, man. 34.
We've got this now with the classified documents. And there's also, I believe, something still developing around him trying to pressure.
January 6th.
Yeah, not only January 6th, but the pressuring of the Secretary of State of Georgia.
Oh, yeah. In Fulton County, Georgia. Yeah. Fani Willis is, they've been signaling all the reporting. Like, I feel like there were parallel tracks of concurrent reporting about this one prong from the Mueller report, not the Mueller report, I'm sorry, the Jack Smith investigation, because there are two prongs, classified documents retention and his involvement with January 6th. They're both part of Jack Smith's purview in terms of his investigation into Trump. But while there was reporting about that, there was also similar reporting from similar sources that indicated that Fani Willis was prepping to indict Trump, in the next month or so for that perfect phone call. So, I mean,
perfect phone call. Nothing wrong.
No, nothing wrong. Listen,
the thing is crazy about the phone call is I've tried to talk to like Trump supporters about the phone call, like commentators online. And every single time it feels like I'm talking to a brick wall. I just can't accept reality. Because in that phone call, he gives the exact number of votes necessary for him.
Right?
Plus one for him to win. I think it was like, he said something shit like, I need 13,530.
11,780.
You remember the exact number? That's crazy.
Of course. I mean, like, it's just a random number, Dylan. I mean, do you not like when you need a random number? Like when you're somebody asks you like, hey man, how much money do you have in your wallet? Like $5, $10? You're like, no, 11,780. Like, is that not the go-to number that you go to, like that you refer to?
Yeah. I mean, if I really cared about recounting and making sure every vote counts, I would definitely say I need these amount of votes exactly that align with me, because it wasn't even like I need you to, because the argument for the pro-Trump side on the DA on the case down in Georgia is that he just wanted them to count every vote. But the thing is, if you want them to count every vote, right? If you don't say, here's the exact amount of votes I need necessary to win, find them, votes for me, votes for him, you would say, make sure you find every vote from every person and make sure that it's counted, right? If you really care, and we can even see the signs of his mentality around this in 2016. In 2020 and other states where they are asking for recounts in states where he lost. Not asking for recounts across the board. They don't want recounts everywhere. They have no problem with the election system in the states where he won. They don't complain about the election system in states like Texas. They don't say, hey, I think there was some fraud in Texas. Maybe, Beto O'Rourke was the real winner. Or maybe, like, they never say that. It's only the states where Trump lost. And it always seems to be the exact amount of votes, especially in this case, that he needs necessary to get across the board.
And even the down ballot races that like on ballots that went for Biden. So obviously there were people who voted, but there were clearly people, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people who voted for Biden, but voted at least for one Republican in one of the down ballot races on the same goddamn ballot. So why is it that you're only concerned that Biden's win is legitimate, but a vote for Mitch McConnell or whatever, like, why aren't you suspicious about that? That's kind of curious, almost like you have an agenda. And it's just really, in the end, the only thing that matters is the idea that the Republicans win, and you'll take it however you can get it.
Absolutely. By the way, you're breaking up a little bit. Can we hang up and recall?
Sure.
Awesome. Don't want to talk to Roboto. Hello?
Can you hear me now? Hey.
Yeah, I can mostly hear you. It's just a little breaking up.
Let me try this. Hang on one second.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
It's basically the same. Do you want to call in my Discord? Do you want to try it in my Discord?
Sure. Hang on a second. I know I've got you here. but it's the fire thing. Okay, where do what voice chat should I go?
Just jump in general or any of them, and I'll drag you into Human Rights Council.
Okay. All right.
How do I still have it named Human Rights Council? What a stupid name for the streamer chat. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think this will work. We'll be fine. Okay, so did you have you read Trump's Truth Social post? Because I just got the Political article. What did he even say? Did. Can you read it for me? Can you tell me what he said?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'd love to. We can just read it together. It's this beautiful thing. I mean, the Schadenfreude I feel is extraordinary. So it's a three-parter, and it's in all caps, of course.
Okay.
Oh, Dylan, he apparently just dropped a video. He dropped a video.
He dropped a video.
Yeah,
okay,
you can see the link, baby.
Yeah, send me the post and send me the video, and I'll read them both on stream because you're still breaking up a little bit right now. But I'll read them and see if we can fix it in the meantime.
Cool.
Okay, dope. So this is the Truth Social. Dude, I'm in Ukraine. They don't allow me to go on Truth Social here.
Are you for real? Well, that's based Ukraine. I mean, that's good. They should be keeping everybody out of Truth Social.
There's so much health problems in Ukraine as it is. They don't want to also give everyone cancer.
Right, precisely. I mean, brain rot of the highest order, stage 4. I imagine, actually, Dylan, quite frankly, you should be looking outside right now because there may be like a ceasefire where everybody is celebrating the fact that this stupid son of a bitch is being indicted on the federal level. Like,
well, no, the Russians are gonna do revenge strike on Ukraine because he was indicted.
Oh, I keep forgetting that Putin is still a Trump fanboy even after all this time and failure.
Yeah. So, is there any other links you could like? Is there like a screenshot? Because the video, I assume, is on Truth Social too, but.
Yeah, I sent you the screenshot. Oh, no, I didn't. That was Destiny. Shit. Yeah, hang on. This is...
The thing... I don't even want to bother putting Trump indicted in my stream title because it happens so often now. It's like, it almost doesn't even feel like...
for real this time.
Yeah, it's like, it almost doesn't even feel like news. Okay, let's read this. I'm going to read it. Page 1. The corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys that I have been indicted, seemingly over the boxes hoax. The boxes hoax? What is it? What does that even mean?
The boxes and boxes of classified documents that he had. It's a hoax because, remember, they're not classified because as president, he can psychically declassify things without telling anybody.
But what gets me about this is he just says the boxes hoax like everyone is just going to know what that even means. Right? Like he's developed so many different like hoaxes and schemes and conspiracies against him that he just like names, he just like names it like it's everybody knows this stuff.
Yeah, but you and I are not MAGA. That's the thing. To us, it's very bizarre, and we have to think about exactly what that means. But to MAGA, I'm sure they're just like slurping it up. They're like, oh yeah, obviously the boxes hoax.
I don't even know if most MAGA know what boxes hoax would necessarily mean, but But okay, boxes hoax means, the hoax surrounding, all the classified documents, even though we know the classified documents were in his home. But his argument is that he can't have them at any point, anywhere, because he's the president. That is his argument.
Right, and he can declassify them psychically because he was the ultimate declassification authority.
Yeah, he has the ultimate declassification authority. So that means that essentially, if he wants to, he could take America's nuclear like code or whatever, and just tweet it out. It's classified, but he can do it because he's president. He can even do it after he's left the White House. Could you imagine how crazy that would be if that was the president, where you could be like, you're the former president of the United States and you could leak literally anything, and it'd be completely fine because you're the former president. It is what it is. No matter how important it is, you can like leak the literal location of like every single American spy around the globe, but it's fine because you're the president and you don't even need to tell anybody you're going to do it. You just do it because you're the former president. Yeah,
that's the funny thing about all this that Stephen and I were talking about, because, the idea, okay, it is true that the sitting president is the ultimate declassification authority. The president can declassify whatever he wants, whenever he wants. However, there is a process to it, right? So this idea that you can just do it psychically makes absolutely no goddamn sense, because imagine, Dylan, a situation like this where you do psychically declassify whatever documents you take. You take the documents with you, which, by the way, even if they're not declassified, or even if they're not classified, you still don't have a right to them because they're federal government property. They belong to the National Archives. But let's just set that aside. You psychically declassify the documents. You take the documents with you. They are discovered by federal authorities in your home. How would those federal authorities know that you psychically declassified them? They would just have to take your word for it, right? That doesn't work when you're the subject of a crime. Right. Yeah. Like, oh, this criminal said that he did the right thing, and he did the right thing in such a way that we can't verify it, and any attempts to do so are a violation of his executive authority. That makes absolutely no sense. When you declassify something properly, you have to write it in like an executive order, sign it, and file it with the National Register. That way, every other relevant authority, like the FBI, the Department of Justice, the CIA, that way they know that it's declassified. You see what I'm saying? Like the whole thing just makes absolutely no goddamn sense.
Man, this is a. And I'm sure, but no, he's gonna make a good case here. I'm sure he's.
Oh yeah. You're right. We're only one sentence in. Only one sentence in.
Even though Joe Biden has 1,850 boxes at the University of Delaware, what does that even mean? There's not even an amount of documents. He just said that he has. I assume the boxes are full of documents.
I guess. So there's probably 10 bazillion.
10 bazillion. That's a lot. That is a lot of boxes. And I get
there's 11,000. There's 11,780 documents.
He's so deep in his own rabbit hole. He's not even referencing like what were the boxes full of. Why is that important? He just assumes everyone knows anyway. Additional boxes in Chinatown, D.C. of Chinatown too. That's scary. Even when more boxes at the University of Pennsylvania, and documents strewn all over his garage floor where he parks his Corvette, and which is secured by only a garage door that is paper thin, open much of the time. Page 2. By the way, like, let's say that literally every single thing that Donald Trump said here is true, right? Mm-hmm. Number one, the difference is that Donald Trump, when asked to return the documents, didn't. When Biden was asked, he did. That's the main difference.
Not only that, Dylan, just sidebar, it was President Biden's attorneys who actually proactively informed the National Archives and the Department of Justice. They didn't even need to be asked. He just said, hey, we found these. We want to bring them to your attention. He didn't even need to be asked. That's an even more critical difference, in my opinion.
Actually, you're right. I didn't even think about that. Damn, that's actually a fucking fantastic point. They went out of their way to do this, knowing it would probably go into the public's face, go into the public sphere. It would become a scandal. Definitely considering they also knew that was something they had on Trump as well, that Trump had an issue with these classified documents. So they were almost taking away a avenue of attack from themselves, but they still did it because, they didn't want to be, Joe Biden didn't want to be indicted.
Correct.
But the second thing that gets me here is Donald Trump, while in office, and this never gets talked about, but is my favorite fact about this case. While he was in office, in response to Hillary Clinton's email scandal, he increased the penalties for violations of the Presidential Records Act, which means the improper storage and redistribution of classified material from the United States, right? He increases the penalty while in office, then immediately violates that law as he leaves office. And this would be like
wasting your own petard.
It would be like if I was like a crusader against drunk driving, and then I got found like with my like Toyota Corolla like smashed through the wall of like a preschool with like a 40 in my hand.
Right. Yeah, you sell it to celebrate you enacting this law or whatever that increases the penalties for drunk driving. You get shit faced and then immediately drive your Toyota Corolla down whatever interstate 10 miles above the speed limit and get pulled over for it. Like, yeah, it just an absolute buffoon, and goes to show, and I know you know this because you were also pretty heavily involved, which I eventually want to talk to you about in domestic politics as well. But like, how we credit the president with basically everything that they sign. And to some extent, we're being exaggerative because so much of what goes on in the federal government simply can't be micromanaged by a single chief executive. So much of that is handled by White House staff.
This is why appointments are so important. I know people don't talk about appointments so much, but this is also why Trump supporters were very angry or felt a lot of times disappointed by the end of the Trump term, as many of them would say, well, Donald Trump, was great. His main mistake was that he surrounded himself with the swamp. And next time, he's not going to surround himself with the swamp, even though most likely he will if he ever gets into the chief executive office again. And if anything, it might even get swampier, exactly. Or it'll be his own version of an oligarchical swamp. And I can tell you, after coming to Ukraine, oh my God, he reminds me of Ukrainian oligarchs, like to such an extent. It's the best way I could describe Donald Trump. He has an oligarch's mentality. But like, But the thing wait, actually, sorry, I'm getting distracted. We should probably finish reading this before.
Yeah, go ahead.
We,
So yeah, we'll unpack the rest of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Page 2. I have been summoned to appear at the federal courthouse in Miami on Tuesday at 3 p.m. I never thought it possible that such a thing could happen to a former president of the United States who received far more votes. The thing is, every time he says that, right? Because he keeps saying this never happened before. This has never happened before. If anything, that just shows how monumentally fucking, I'm trying not to use the R slur here, how monumentally how much of a window licker he is, man. How much of a knuckle dragger Donald Trump is, that he keeps saying that, oh my God, this has never happened before, as if to show himself as particularly persecuted, when I think, if anything, this just shows that he's particularly incompetent in his criminal acts. He's not even the first president to commit crimes while in office. Everyone remembers Nixon. But Donald Trump is consistent in the fact that not only will he continue to commit criminal acts while in office, but he's really, 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 really bad at it. Bad at keeping his mouth shut, bad at not talking about it. Sometimes he'll admit to crimes in public. In public, he'll 100%. Admit to crimes, or in public, he'll advocate for crimes. Like when he said we needed to bomb the families on terrorists on the campaign trail, openly calling for committing war crimes.
Didn't he publicly also call for Russia to hack the DNC server?
He did
do that?
He did. He did ask for help. And hey, guess what they did?
I think they hacked the DNC server.
They hacked the DNC server. And by the way, when we talk about the DNC leaks, I remember, and this is the thing that always kind of miffed me about Julian Assange a little bit, is that they apparently said, WikiLeaks said that they also had stuff on the RNC and Donald Trump, but they weren't going to release it. They weren't going to release it because, like, oh, there's already so much criticism of Trump and it's not that important. It seemed to me to be pretty unbelievably biased. Even if there isn't anything in it, they should have still released it just to show that they were unbiased. To me,
it's the same issue with the Twitter files, Dylan. I mean, not to bounce around here, but it's the same, like, sort of enlightened centrist mentality where you see, you're supposed to be an information leaker for whatever reason, which in my opinion means you should be relatively indiscriminate, right? With very few considerations about the implications, perhaps for national security, maybe, but even then, obviously that's typically not the case for like Snowden and others as well. But so when these leakers, like in the Twitter files or Julian Assange, they say, listen, well, we see an uneven political terrain where Trump's getting hit hard already, and sure, we've got dirt on him that we could share in the interest of full disclosure, but we're not going to do it because he's already catching enough flack, so we're just going to artificially balance the scales. That is inherently dishonest, 100% dishonest.
There's a conversation to be had about like how to ethically do this, how to do it properly, because there is a question to be asked about like national security implications, or like at least like not leaking stuff that can get people killed. For example, I think a lot of the air defense stuff that was leaked about Ukraine from the Jack Teixeira stuff is genuinely dangerous because it can like endanger civilians.
Is that the Discord guy?
Yeah, the Discord guy. Yeah, okay. But the thing that got me about again, we're getting distracted.
Sorry. We'll finish this and then we'll unpack all of it. Yeah. Guys, we're hyped about this. This is so fun. And Schadenfreude, like the sheer glee at seeing, I imagine you should probably do this before bed, Dylan. You should go through your Twitter feed and all the conservative commentators that you've butted heads with over the years about this shit, and just read their posts and allow your heart to be lighter. It'd be filled with joy. Well, you might even float out of your bed.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to do that because Trump's going to be found innocent of all charges in every case. They're going to have a court going to actually review him being found liable for sexual assault, and they're going to find Biden liable for sexual assault instead against America for his communism and socialism that he's brought to this country. That's what's really going to happen.
Yep, and the evidence is in Hunter Biden's laptop.
The evidence is in Hunter Biden's he's in its iPod. This could happen to a former president of the United States who received far more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. I love when he says this because he doesn't say, I received more votes than any candidate ever, because he can't.
Right, than the guy I was running against.
Because the guy he running against, he lost. He lost. It's the biggest asterisk in the world, and is currently leading by far all candidates, both Democrat and Republican, in polls of the 2024 presidential election. I am an innocent man, all caps. I love the all caps stuff. Page 3. This
That's
is the
really
last.
persuasive, man. That's really persuasive. If it was just in lowercase, it wouldn't be nearly as effective. But all caps, even I'm starting to believe him.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to have doubts about Alvin bragging about everything. Page 3. This is indeed a dark day, all caps, for the United States of America. We are a country in serious and rapid decline, but together we will make America great again. Okay, wow.
I think he might be making toilet wine in a prison in Terre Haute, Indiana. That's what I think he's
Look,
making.
I'm going to be honest. As much as, it's funny to see this, it's funny to see him kind of like going online and reading about, these charges. Just because I can't conceptualize it in my mind almost. I think that might be one of the main motivators. I cannot imagine Trump in handcuffs. I cannot imagine Trump in an orange jumpsuit. And I feel like no matter how this gets resolved, he's not going to serve a day in prison. Not only because I have just this general feeling of, the rich and powerful being able to get away with crimes, even if they don't get away with it in entirety, they get let off like with a slap on the wrist. But also it's very, even though, again, the argument of this has never happened before isn't a really good defense. It also, this has never happened before. And it's very difficult for me to conceptualize this actually ending up with him in handcuffs. I mean, it is entirely possible that a plea agreement could be reached where he never serves a day in prison.
Sure. Well, so it's interesting because, like, I mean, obviously I'm with you. I mean, number one, as a wealthy celebrity, take aside the fact that he's the leader of a political party and that he's a former president of the United States and may very well be president again, which, by the way, we don't know what the charges are yet from the Department of Justice unless they've, like,
by the way,
been released.
Question. If he becomes president again, then nobody can do anything. They can't charge him. They can't like arrest him while he's in office. That's not an option.
Yeah, so there's a standing Office of Legal Counsel report. It's basically a standard policy in the Department of Justice going back to the Nixon era, which says that you cannot indict or arrest or imprison a sitting president. So it would have to be, like, hypothetically, if he were going to be arrested, he would have to be arrested before he was elected president in 2024. Now, the funny thing is,
do you think that's part of the reason why everything's coming out now, or do you think it's just?
Sure.
Do you think that the prosecutors are actually thinking like, I'm doing this now because we know if we wait too long and he's in office again, we can't do anything? Or do you think it's honestly, just like this? The mechanisms are just finally, because these cases have been going on for a while now. The Georgia case has been going on, since it happened like 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So is it just like the mechanisms coming into place, like finally, or is it like, oh snap, we better pick this up?
My vibe is, and I'm curious kind of what you think, but my vibe is I think that the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland dragged his feet. Okay. And this is what I mean. So, like, okay, you're an international policy wonk, and I know, like, right now you're in Ukraine, but like let's hop back over the Atlantic and go to Brazil. Brazil experienced their.
But I don't want to go to Brazil. No,
I know what you're gonna have to eventually. Damn it! You're gonna be Dylan Burns, international correspondent. Right now, you're Ukraine war correspondent, but now it's gonna be like a tour thing. You're gonna have your own TV show, and you're just gonna go to various countries in the midst of like either war or constitutional crises, political crises, and lend your wisdom. We're going to pitch it, okay?
That is actually my dream. But yes, continue.
Dylan Burns politics or something like that. Dylan Burns or whatever, and it's going to be a play on words with your last name. Anyway, so let's go to Brazil, and you think about it. So earlier this year, it's January 10th. It was damn near, 2 years to the day of January 6th in the United States. But in January 10th, Brazil, they effectively went through the same thing where, and I'm blanking on the guy's name. Who was the previous president? Lula now.
Their January 6th, though, was shit. It was garbage. Like, I
understand, but what?
It was like Garbo. But what's that one thing they say, history happens once, like I forget how it is, but like second time is like a farce or something. I forget the quote.
Right.
But it gave me that vibe.
Well, so what was interesting is, though, the response that the Brazilian government had to their equivalent of January 6th was radically different than the one that we had in the United States. Like, the president, Lula da Silva, said, like,
didn't they just put them all in like a big cage?
Dude, well, they fired. So, like, they shit-canned people who were, like, in, like, certain federal positions that had either been politically or even just like directly aligned with the previous president, either because they were appointed by him or because they were politically sympathetic. they like arrested people. The guy who was in charge of Capitol Security, who was an appointee of the Brazil's version of Trump, he was canned the same day. The Brazilian Supreme Court like suspended another person, and then they launched an investigation, a formal investigation within weeks of that previous president. They said he is under investigation. So basically doing what it took 2 years to do with the Merrick Garland, Jack Smith investigation into Donald Trump. They did it within weeks in their equivalent. And Lula da Silva, the sitting president of Brazil, said there will be consequences for this. Like, they took it infinitely more seriously and were much quicker to promise action than here in the United States. To me, my vibe check is Merrick Garland, smart guy, nice guy. And by the way, sidebar on Merrick Garland, I heard somebody refer to him once as like the DOJ's version or a prosecutor's version of a fart because he's silent but deadly. Because this dude, like, he prosecuted the Unabomber and like 1996 Olympic bombing, shit like that. Like, he's that guy. Like, he was involved with those convictions, those high profile major convictions. So dude is pretty lethal when he wants to be. But he's such
wait. Okay. As much as I do think he was aggressive, I would say the Unabomber is more lethal than Merrick Garland.
That's damn, you got me. I mean, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. You're right. I should walk that back. I am not saying that Merrick Garland is the Unabomber. Quote me, everybody. Merrick Garland is not the Unabomber.
Yes.
But no, he got those high profile convictions. So I mean, it's not like the dude's squeamish, right? But he's such an institutionalist and a centrist that I think he dreaded the idea of going after Trump. He probably looked for every reason. Oh, God, I know I got to, but
okay. Really I gotta look. While I do agree with the spirit of what you're saying. A lot of people are gonna say that's cope. That he's a Biden appointee and he would love to go after Biden's opponent. He would love to go after this person who's a Republican and he doesn't like the guy. The Republicans held Merrick Garland up for years during the Obama nomination process when they tried to put him on the Supreme Court. He would love to go after him, and if he can go after a criminal, he can go after a criminal. Why would you say that he didn't want to do this?
Because I think I have to imagine, I mean, even though Merrick Garland is not, in his mind, a political figure, I mean, he is a political appointee of the nation's highest political appointee. I have to imagine he's cognizant of the consequences of this for the very things that you described earlier about, even if Donald Trump were eligible to serve jail time, if he is convicted of these charges, I agree with you. It's highly unlikely, incredibly unlikely, that he would, because I don't know if enough of America's criminal justice institutions are comfortable, they have the testicular fortitude to not only convict a former president, charge a former president, convict a former president, and then put him in irons. I don't know. I think it took forever for Garland to get to that point, and I think it didn't help that the classified documents thing, because remember, we're talking about January 6th. Then you've got the Georgia stuff going on in parallel. Then you've got the ongoing classified document situation. And I think it was finally like, okay, fuck it, enough's enough. There are 3 or 4 major federal level potential like earth-shattering crimes that Donald Trump is guilty of. He doesn't seem to be showing any limiting principle. And I think the other thing was the fact that Trump was signaling he was going to run again. So I don't know, in like a counterfactual world where Donald Trump decides not to run again, like if he made it clear, like, you know what, to hell with it. I hated being president. It was awful. I'm done with it. I'm just going back to my golf course. I don't know if Merrick Garland would have ever appointed a special counsel. I don't know. I think it was all of these things in tandem that got him to this point. So that's my take on it. That's where I think that the situation is now. They just took their time because they didn't have the stomach to do it as aggressively as Brazil did in this situation. They finally got there. They realized, oh, shit, he's running again. So that means, if he is guilty of crimes, which the preponderance of evidence clearly indicates that he is, we need to get him now before he runs for president, potentially wins the presidency, and then all hell breaks loose. Can you imagine a 2024 where Donald Trump is president and you've poked the bear, but you've not killed it? Cannot imagine.
Do you think that do you think there's a motivation here to quite literally just stop this man from becoming president?
I have to imagine that's part of it right now. But again, like, that's the thing. I think it's like two conflicting things at once. I don't think Merrick Garland would ever have allowed it to get this far if he wasn't confident that the DOJ could make a compelling case before any judge in the land So I don't think it's a question of basically we need to get him, and so we'll invent whatever facts we have to and go out of our way to crush him. I think it's I think they knew they had the facts to crush him in the first place, at least from a legal perspective, and just didn't have the stomach to pursue it until he made it very clear that he was going to run for president again, in which case there would be political vengeance of the highest order. I think they already had the facts at their disposal that they knew if they were going to pursue charges against him, that they stood a damn good chance of convicting him.
Yeah, I mean, this election, the 2024 election, is probably, for nobody is the stakes higher than for Donald Trump. If Ron DeSantis doesn't become president, he's the governor of Florida. He has a strong political base there. He can go back to that. Mike Pence, he doesn't really have anything else going on, but if he loses, he loses. It is what it is, right? Like that's
I'm sure he's got some. I'm sure Pence has some church camp that he's running. Yeah, maybe some sort of weird Handmaid's Tale sexual thing going on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe he's throwing gays into an open fall game or whatever he does on his weekends, right? He has other things he can do. Tim Scott, sitting senator, popular kind of up and coming senator in the Republican Party. He's got things. Chris Christie can go back to spending time on the beach with his family or whatever. Like all these other people, they got other things going on. They go do their own things. If Donald Trump loses in 2024, he's the only person running who could seriously see criminal charges if he doesn't win. Because if he's in office, obviously they can't do anything. But if he's out of office, like they can get him. So do you think that's a motivator for him to run? Do you think that was part of the reason he ran?
I get the vibe that his two motivations are primarily what you just identified in the second thing. It's because he lost in 2020. I think this man's ego just cannot handle the fact that he got his ass kicked in the 2020 election. So I think that he's just going to pursue this until the end of time. But yeah, I think the single greatest motivator is the desire to avoid the legal consequences that are increasingly aimed his way. And also, quite frankly, to enrich himself. There's an organization called the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. There's a nonpartisan watchdog about political corruption. Like they've even reported extensively on Nancy Pelosi. But they have exhaustive reporting about how Donald Trump enriched himself because he didn't divest himself from his businesses. Even though that was an unprecedented action, he's committed multiple violations of the Emoluments Clause. So it's a financial asset for him too. It's a moneymaker if he's president again. He gets to avoid the legal consequences to whatever extent they are. He has the opportunity to enact political and legal vengeance to protect him after he leaves office if he wins in 2024, after he leaves in 2028. I think his ego as well. I think those are the four primary factors.
Chad Stacks, thank you so much for the primer and being sub for 7 months. I really appreciate it. I also am interested to see how Trump's going to deal with these legal proceedings going on during the campaign cycle, because so far it looks like every single other candidate except for Chris Christie, who just announced, is scared to attack Trump directly, right? Mm-hmm. People around them, like for example, Ron DeSantis, he's not going after Trump directly, but the people around him in the war room, his PACs, they're going after Trump directly. And the reason why is that Trump is extremely popular amongst the Republican base, and they do not want to spoil that base to them. They are under the belief, and I agree with them, that there is a scenario where if Trump just hates them enough and influences, he can just straight up influence his audience to just never support him. Do not go support them in the general election. He is somebody who's floated the idea of third parties after he lost in 2020. And I don't think it is impossible for Trump to literally, if he doesn't win, crash the Republican nomination, crash the Republican attempt to become president, with him just telling his reporters it's all rigged, they stole it, do not reward the thieves. And so to some extent, I think they're holding back, but the only person who's not doing it is Chris Christie. But this is such a vulnerable point of attack for Trump that if they have to use the PACs or do something to go after it. I know Chris Christie will, right? But he's not going to be president. He doesn't have a chance in hell.
Hey, he's pulling at a robust 3%.
Yeah, robust.
That's only 97% away from 100%, man.
It's 0.8 actually.
Oh yeah! Wow, that high, huh? His support is that high. I didn't know that.
It is extremely high.
You made some really interesting observations. The first thing, though, I'm thinking of when you were talking about Trump running third party, which I agree. Like again, his ego would drive him to do it. And again,
let me be clear. I don't think he's going to do it. I think there's too many people who's around him. Even his most devoted loyalists will tell him not to do it. They will tell him not to do it.
I just don't think he would regard I think if he loses the Republican nomination, he understands that his best chance of getting the presidency is over. And so I think at that point, anybody could say whatever they wanted to him, and he just won't care. But because here's what I was going to go.
Wait. Can I make the case quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's assume, because I think there's multiple motivators. I think Trump is an egomaniac. I think some of this is ego. I think plus I think he does to some extent believe he'd be a good leader because again, ego, and he thinks he can run the country, whatever. He didn't do a good job, but he thinks he did a good job. He thinks he can do a great job. For whatever reason, he wants to be president. But we both think that to some extent, the criminal cases against him is a motivator for him to run, because if you're president, they can't charge you. They can't do anything. You're president of the United States. What are they going to do? So if he runs third party, Biden will become president of the United States again. It's guaranteed. They're going to split the vote, and the Republican Party is not going to win. Now, while he might be able to get revenge on the Republicans, now that means there's nobody in place who could pardon him. I could see a situation where and this was actually a question that was asked to Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis begrudgingly seemed to, I didn't say directly, seemed to suggest that he would pardon Donald Trump. Chris Christie was a little bit more, he didn't say exactly, but he hinted that he would not pardon Donald Trump. Again, I'm talking about Chris Christie a lot because Chris Christie has said some funny things over the last few days, so I've been laughing at him. But also he's been saying some true things about like Trump and the Saudis and stuff like that. And that's why I'm paying attention.
Many true things, surprisingly.
But the thing is, if he does not support the Republican nominee and the Republican doesn't win, then he doesn't have anybody who can pardon him. I can see a scenario where in exchange for a pardon, he endorses Ron DeSantis. In exchange for a pardon, he endorses one of these candidates. If the belief that we have that the criminal aspect of this is a strong element, if that's true, and that is a big element in this case, that could push him out of self-preservation reasons to support the Republican nominee. Oh, also Bobby the Duke, thank you for 10 gifted tier 1 subs. Oh my goodness, that's extremely generous. Thank you. Wowzers, that's a lot of gifted tier 1 subs. I appreciate all the support, everybody. My Discord has just crashed, so we just lost the call. Hopefully Discord will start to work again, but Discord just crashed. Man, 10 gifted tier 1 subs. That's a lot of loves. I really appreciate that, Bobby Duke. Bobby Duke's been a long-time juicer, long-time supporter of the channel.
Bankrupt man.
Some juicy tears here. Oh my God, the QAnon boards. I do need to check the QAnon boards now that he's been indicted again. Oh my God, you're right. You were just on them? What are they talking? What are they saying?
Morally corrupt.
It's all part of the plan. What?
Equal like.
What?
Boom, boom, boom.
What?
Q drop 026.
Q drop 026. So boom, boom, boom. They're referencing on Q drops to say, dude, they're just treating Q drops like it's the Bible. Like, don't worry. In Q drop number 0.27, it said that Trump would face many challenges. Trump would have many enemies. That the cabal is very entrenched. It's very powerful, very strong, very strong. Oh my God.
I'll send you some.
Yeah. I cut out for a bit. So, 1 second. Somebody just sent me the cue boards. I gotta, yeah, you're back. But, I just got the video loaded. So can I watch this video?
Absolutely.
Awesome. If I could just get it to work. Thank you, Elon Musk. I appreciate your fantastic website. Every way, it's fantastic.
He's a genius.
I literally sat here and let it load. Oh my God. No, it's not loading again. Wait, but I do want to ask you, though, about my scenario that I laid out, about the idea that Trump would be too interested in his own self-preservation, too interested in making sure he got a pardon if necessary, that he would commit to that. He would commit to maybe endorsing a nominee. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that.
No, I think that's a compelling. I think it depends on the timeline, right? So I agree with you. Let's say that the case is still either A, still ongoing, or B, he's been convicted, but he's not been charged yet. And so there's a possibility that a Republican president, if it's not him, could pardon him. I could see him basically going to Ron DeSantis, or obviously more likely Chris Christie, who's clearly going to beat DeSantis, right? We all agree on that.
Chris
and
Christie!
saying, "Listen,
Woo!
in exchange for my support, in exchange for not running third party and burning this party to the ground, I want your commitment that you will pardon me from all federal crimes." I could see him basically making that arrangement and using the threat of running third party as leverage.
Yeah, some people say VP, but there's no way in hell he would ever accept VP.
Shit. No, his ego, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. He would rather just collect the pardon and go back to his golf course than be somebody's official.
Maybe he'll start. Remember when we talked about like Trump news? Like because I remember during the 2016 election, there were articles about Trump's already preparing to lose. And one of the ideas he's going with is possibly like a Trump news organization. Maybe he starts that. There's a bunch of other projects he can work in. He's also a really good fundraiser. Okay, he could do a bunch of different things in the Republican Party to like use influence. He can work outside of the chief executive branch in Republican politics. But yeah, I do agree that this is a possibility. But it all depends on how intelligent Trump is and how much his ego gets a hold of him. Because I can see a scenario where he just says, these cases are garbage anyway. I'll all be fine. I'm going to run third party. I could see him crashing and burning. I think it 100% depends not only on Trump's personal motivation, but also on how the cases develop. Because maybe some of these cases could fall through. Who knows?
Or on the timeline as well. So again, imagine he's been charged, he's been convicted, and then he's been sentenced, and there's some sort of plea deal as you discussed. Because like we said, we both agree, I cannot imagine, even if he's convicted, that he will ever serve time. So it may be a situation that all that happens by the time the election starts. And then I could see Trump running third party and basically saying, listen, the cases are over. I'm not going to serve any jail time. But also, F you, Republicans, we're done. Screw you guys. I'm burning the place to the ground. So to me, your scenario is most plausible if the case is still ongoing and Trump has something to leverage and get something in return. He can leverage his support and not running third party in exchange for a commitment from DeSantis, Christie, Pence, or whoever it is. It would obviously probably be DeSantis if it's not him, to pardon him. Like, hey, listen, I won't split the ticket. I won't be a spoiler candidate, but in exchange, I demand the first thing you do is sign the pardon. Yeah, okay, and I want you to publicly commit to it too.
I don't know about that. A public commitment to a pardon on the campaign trail or running against Biden is really something I think that could undermine Ron DeSantis' chance against Biden. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good.
I agree, but think about it. They're already talking about pardoning January 6th offenders. I don't think that looks good for them either. I mean, they're being particularly bold about this shit in their zeal to run to the right. Like, because that's the other thing. I agree with you. In terms of a general election, it looks terrible, right? That alienates the vast majority of the American public. But MAGA, look at DeSantis. DeSantis is the second best candidate in the Republican field. He's the only one who stands remotely a chance against Biden, who's Trump. And he's running even further to the right. Wait.
When you say he's the only one that stands a chance against Biden, I don't know if I believe that.
Trump. I
could imagine if somehow like other candidates like Chris Christie got the nomination, I could imagine them at least giving a good go of it. It's just the fact that they don't have a chance in hell. I think someone like Chris Christie would actually be a lot better at appealing to independents and actually getting the demographics that the Republican Party is having trouble with because of its right to the right. But it's just they're never going to nominate these people. They're just never going to.
To clarify, what I mean is that if it's not Trump who runs against Biden, it's going to be DeSantis, right? Because they're the two front runners in the Republican field.
Yeah, I generally agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, though, DeSantis is running even further to the right than Trump is, even though that puts him in direct opposition with the rest of the country. The Republican Party has put themselves in such a position that their lead candidates like Trump and especially DeSantis, because they want to win the primary, they've got to get MAGA, right? So they've got to run as far right as possible. But every step they run right, that's one step away from victory in the general because MAGA is out of step with the majority of the American public. I think it's mutually exclusive. Like, I agree. I think that publicly committing to pardon Trump would be bad for a general election prospect, but it would be a surefire way to get the Republican nomination, I think, from MAGA. If he committed, if he had Trump support and Trump conditioned it on, hey, listen, not only do you have to pardon me, you need to publicly indicate that you would do it. That way I have assurances that you'll actually follow through.
No matter what happens, it's going to be really entertaining because watching, if my scenario played out, it would be really funny to watch Trump go from low-key suggesting that Ron DeSantis is a pedophile, which he did repeatedly, saying, oh, he had inappropriate relationships with the students. Oh, he tried to get him drunk. What is he trying to do? He was suggesting that on Truth Social, to endorsing him on the campaign trail. It's like almost a Lindsey Graham moment. If Trump is the nominee of the party, he will destroy us and we'll deserve it. And then that developed to Trump is a great guy. He's a nominee. We gotta go for him. Oh my gosh, the complete turnaround. Okay, I got the video loaded. I just want to show it on screen.
Let's watch it. Yeah.
Okay, let's watch it. I'm not going to share screens because we're having problems with Discord.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, there's never been anything like
stream.
what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. They're going to stop us is by using what's called warfare. And that's what it is. This is warfare for the law.
They're using warfare. An indictment is warfare, man. Warfare.
And we can't let it happen.
Dude, this is so ridiculous. If they would commit themselves to truth and honesty.
Yo, I'm gonna, you know what? I can't wait to see somebody drink, go out, drive, plow through like 20 children on like a bus, parking lot, and then go in court and they're gonna say, "What's your defense, sir?" This is legal warfare. Ad hominem, a straw man. Oh my God, man.
Happen. Our country is going to hell, and they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax. You saw the Durham report. You saw the Mueller report. It was all a big hoax. You had 2 impeachments, and they lost.
He never talks about the indictments when he talks about the Mueller report or anything. I never talks about any of the indictments.
Minor issues, right?
Minor issues. More than I think 24 indictments.
Lost and we won, and we had tremendous support. But that was a hoax and a scam, and now they're doing it again. It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election.
I don't even know what some of this is actually incomprehensible. Trump is a big rambler. People say he's a great public speaker, and he's funny, but if you actually sit down and watch a full Trump speech, half of it's
it's wildly incoherent.
Yeah, some of
100%
is wildly incoherent.
Yep.
You don't understand what he's saying. It's the worst of streamers just trying to constantly say things, just to entertain the
random
crowd.
words together. Yeah, it's almost like some form of Tourette's. I imagine he's just one thing after another, and that's why when MAGA mocks President Biden's gaffes, which President Biden does have that old style, that old man, I'm just gonna meander through a sentence. Biden can still, on his really good days, which very often, effectively and empathetically deliver a speech. Is he a Clinton or Obama tier orator? No. But he is still, on his best day, an infinitely better and more polished public speaker than Donald Trump. Well, that might not be appealing to you.
It depends on what type of public speaking. Because if it's getting in the mud and fighting, Trump's he's better than anybody else in politics. Right?
Sure.
There's nobody else.
Sure.
In a debate setting, Trump should be better. But the problem is that he has so many scandals, and he said so much ridiculous nonsense, and he doesn't have a filter, and
right.
he's working with a highly dangerous explosive. You might come away and you might win because it's a very effective explosive, very powerful, very strong, but it's not too difficult to mess something up and end up killing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. and this is what they
Can I just say, if you were president, right? If you were the last president, and in 3 years they were able to take Trump, what he says was his perfect country, being run perfectly by him, all the best things, you know, not making Mexico pay for the wall, not really delivering on basically any of the campaign promises, wiping out the national debt in 8 years, adds trillions to it in his one term. Like, he doesn't deliver a lot of his national promises. But Matt, like, let's just say he got the tax cut. That was something that he wanted, but it was mostly designed by Republican legislators, not him, but something he got. There was like other executive orders he got through, but
Three Supreme Court judges. He felt, you know, he crammed a bunch of young conservatives into the federal judiciary.
Yep, that's actually probably his most impactful long-term impact is going to be the judges. It's going to be the appointments. But if your great work in fixing the country, right, which he says was so fantastic, so amazing, can be undone so easily, it sounds like you're not a good politician. The whole point of being a politician, this is the whole problem with like just doing everything by executive order, is if you do everything by executive order, then the next executive can come in and undo it. And a lot of the things he did will not be able to stand the test of time. The longest, and I don't imagine if he went back in office and if he hasn't learned, it'd be the same thing. The main impact he has had is always going, at least so far, and maybe it'll change if he becomes president again. God hope not. But if he was the court appointments, you know, that's how we got an overturn of Roe versus Wade, and that's why we have so many more pro-conservative court decisions recently, like on labor law and other things. Anyway, let me finish this. Only 30 seconds left.
Sure.
they do. I'm an innocent man. We will prove that again. 7 years of proving it, and here we go again. Very unfair. But that's the way it is. I just want to thank everybody. We are doing something very special for our country. We're putting America first. I always put America.
Okay, we don't need to watch the entirety of the thing. That's enough. So that's Trump's response. It's just the same old it's nothing new, nothing different, nothing particularly surprising. It's just the whole, like, it's a hoax, I'm innocent, witch hunt. It's the same thing he says every single time he has any criminal charges brought against him, even when the evidence is unbelievably overwhelming. They could have photos of Donald Trump kicking a baby, and he will say he did not kick the baby. He will constantly deny quotes that we know and have audio recordings of him saying. So, like, it's just the same. It's just the same as always. I was sent some pro-Trump boards, some message boards, and I want to go see how they're reacting to Trump being indicted and him having to appear in court on Tuesday. I just want to read some of that. I just want to see what they're like here. Let's read.
I lost again for about like 30 seconds. It seems like you dropped out of Discord.
Yeah, I have a bad Discord connection. I think it's probably my fault. Very sorry about that. But
no, it's okay.
This is from Ex-Libtard. What the left has done to this nation is unforgivable. From Ponzo, many don't like to hear it, but the right is equally to blame for being too compliant and too afraid to be seen as radical or extreme. We have sanctioned it with our relative silence. They think they can just slip DeSantis in and get back to business as usual. Oh my God, they are not happy. They are not happy here. My goodness. It's the deep state. It's Mossad. It's blackmail. Enough of this left bullshit. Think way bigger. My goodness. Can't wait to vote for Trump again. Trump or die. 33 points. Trump or die. Literally at this point, Zep87 responds, Biden will again steal the election. This time with 90 or 100 million quote unquote votes. My goodness. The Fed will
that's
be
very dramatic. They're not handling it very well over there.
No, they're not handling it very well. These are some fun ones though. So any final thoughts on this before, because I'm being sent some of the better QAnon stuff right now from a buddy of mine who's following the forums. Do you have any final thoughts on this before I finish up with these last Q drops?
No. So basically, the only thing that I had, which eventually I'm probably gonna have to talk about this in greater detail because the conversation was kind of hijacked by the fact that our boy is indicted, and this is great news. It's worthy of a conversational hijack. But eventually, I'm gonna want to pick your brain about institutions in particular because you're one of you and I are the only Like, I'm not really in the streaming world. I have an association with Steven, and like that's basically it. President Sunday a little bit, and Aaron's Raider Raid, a couple of others, but like I'm really out of the loop. The only political streamers that I follow to any meaningful extent are you and IRI, especially since Destiny does like more red pill stuff these days. But I want to get your take on institutions, because I actually had a really good conversation with Lonerbox recently about this as well. And this is an ongoing back and forth with like Wick from one of the debate panels. Since you have a background in domestic politics, you worked on various campaigns, and you, even though you're in Ukraine, you clearly keep an eye out on what's going on in the United States. I want to see to what extent you want Democrats to start fighting like Republicans, perhaps not to the same extent, but borrow some of that ruthless energy. I don't know where you fall on that, and I'd like to find out. And if we disagree, I'd like the opportunity to persuade you to see it my way.
Sure. Well, I can give you I just give you a general statement, because this conversation, we've done it for an hour, which is like the time slot that I allocated. And
Yeah,
also I want to make sure when we have the talk that we don't have as much Discord problems.
Absolutely.
All I'll say is that I really, really believe in institutions over individuals. I think it's extremely important to have strong institutions in the country, that all sides of the political parties respect the strength of those institutions as being important to keep your democracy and your nation safe. And so I do believe in being aggressive. I do believe that we should be cutthroat, but I also don't believe that we should do things that, number one, will just end up backfiring on us, like breaking precedents and doing things that will just then immediately be used against us anyway. And number two, I am very, very, very against anything that would interrupt the democratic process.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's like my general statement. I do believe in being cutthroat where we can't be cutthroat, but I also do not believe in degrading the strength of our institutions, because that is when countries reach a point of like no return. And after coming to Ukraine and seeing the problem with the weakness of some of the institutions here and the corruption in some of the institutions here, it has only reinforced my belief in the importance of needing strong institutions over like individuals.
No, perfectly fair. And listen, that I think the Ukrainian perspective, or that the perspective you have since you've been in Ukraine, will also add some flavor to the conversation. Suffice it to say, we agree in part, and I expect strongly disagree in other parts. And I look forward to having that conversation with you at a later date. So, man, listen, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And again, let the joy of Trump's indictment just lift you up, and the Schadenfreude that you'll see on your timeline of all the cope and the impotent rage from right wingers, just marinate in it, buddy. And I hope that comforts you tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
One second. My editor is sending me stuff on the right sector interview, trying to get the last edits. Dylan, their defense is prosecutorial misconduct? What do you mean? Let me see. What's their defense for Trump? Let's see. Well, guys, we all know Trump's innocent, right? But I want to see like the right-wing defense for it. But first, before we get into that, since that's saying, oh, here it is. Lawyer for Trump's valet under security in Mar-a-Lago docs case has alleged in a letter that top prosecutor Jay Bratt brought up his application to be a judge when trying to gain the valet's cooperation, per people familiar. Lawyer for Trump's valet Mar-a-Lago documents case alleges misconduct. That's going to be so they're not even going to say that Trump didn't commit the crime. Okay, whatever. We'll see how it goes. I want to read these Q posts. What are these ones? These are from July 2nd of 2020? Are these like old, what are these? Are these like old Q drops? Okay, so the first thing you sent me is what? Because I'm looking at this first one. It's from July of 2020.
Yeah, these are some of the Q drops they use.
So these are the Q drops they're using. This is their like Bible that they're using.
Yes, some of them.
Got you. Okay.
Drops as you go through.
Okay, got you. Okay. Impressive, most impressive. Argument: Maxwell is not a big enough name to trigger a mass awakening. Counter argument: Do not make statements based on the assumption of worth and or value. Do not think today, but rather after today. One leads to another, to another, to another. One leads to many. Crimes against children equal common denominator, no matter political affiliation, mass population awakening. Have faith in humanity, Q. This just feels like a schizophrenic Bible. Like this is like, I can't decode this. What does this mean? Possible Epstein was a puppet, not the main persons of interest. Financed by who or what F entities? Wait, okay. If this is Q and they have all the information, why don't they just say who Epstein is a puppet for? Financed by who or what F entities? Primary, gather blackmail on elected polls, dignitaries, royalty, Hollywood influencers, Wall Street, and other financial top-level players, other high-profile industry-specific people. Feed addiction, controllable, Maxwell family, okay, these things are schizophrenic. Okay, these are old Q drops, okay, that they're using to try to explain how this is all part of the plan. I don't understand how these in any way are related to the indictment, but let's see how the boards are reacting. Breaking news, former President Trump says he has been indicted. Let's read the, oh my God, they are paragraph posting. Let's read the responses. This is from QAnon, not the actual QAnon, but that's how he spelled his name. Trump truth. The corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys that I have been indicted. Oh, wait, no, this is what Trump is saying. And then in response to that, Mary 911 says, dark day, those are the key words. It's a go. So because Trump said it's a dark day and he capitalized it in his original post, that's a key word for agents or like a signal to the Q crowd. And by him saying it's a dark day, he's really telling people that he has everything under control. And it's like a signal, like a secret signal to the Qers. Okay, got you. Dark day, those are the key words. It's a go. Internet outage coming or something? Counting today. The 17th is 10 days from now. 10 days of darkness? Dark to daylight. Beautiful black sky, not long now. Bright sunny days. I never thought it would be possible that such a thing could happen to the former president of the United States. They're quoting the Trump statement. Two cacks? Ah, yep. And now that it is happening with leftists gnarling and gashing their teeth with like a pack of hungry jackals, I don't suppose they'll have much to say when the evil cabal puppets like Hill Dog Renegade and Joey Bribes, aka Potadas, I don't know who they're referencing, and others have their military trials eventually televised, I hope. After all, precedent has now been set. Darkest day in caps. Dark equals light. From Horsey Patriot. Now they're referencing this old Q drop that says, boom, 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 a week to remember, dark to light, blackout necessary. I'm liking those 5-year deltas. Dude, these guys are, these people are insane. This is now going to get fantastic. Door wide open for the indictment of Obama and Biden. Puppet. He puts puppet in parentheses because Biden isn't the true president. He's the puppet of the elites or whatever. I'm sure the doomers over at PW are in full it's over man mode. Lol.
PW Patriots win.
Is that a rival? That's a rival like board?
Yeah, it's more like mainstream.
It's more mainstream board. It's like the cuck board that's like, okay, we don't think that Hillary is literally drinking the blood of babies, right?
No, they think that.
No, they still think that.
They just don't believe in Q and.
They just don't believe specifically in Q stuff.
Yeah.
So they believe all the normal nonsense, but they don't believe in the Q drops or the Bible stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So I like how this guy Bedminster, who got 11 points here, 14 upvotes, 3 downvotes, said that it's going to get fantastic. Door wide open for indictment of Obama and Biden. Trump gets indicted in multiple cases. He's found liable for the sexual assault of a woman. He has another case developing in Georgia. Other cases developing in New York. And all of this legal trouble that Trump is in, where he's getting indicted left, right, and center, and being found liable for sexual assault, all these stuff, all this really shows is that Biden is the one on the ropes, and that Obama, who hasn't been president for 8 years, he's on the ropes too. That's the true thing that's being showed that the mainstream media won't tell you about, man. This is like somebody's in a boxing match and they just got like knocked out, and there's somebody in the audience thinking, stunning, brilliant strategy. They're tiring out the other boxer by allowing his fist to punch his face. After a few rounds, he'll surely be too tired to continue. Brilliant move. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay, this is from Unruly. Yeah, but who is going to indict them? Certainly no Rhino. They're responding. This is the idea of like, well, somebody just asking a question for a moment. Like, wait a second. If this all is like laying the groundwork to indict Biden and Obama, who's going to indict them? It's a good question. That's a great question. If this big, gigantic conspiracy is everywhere, the elites control everything, and Trump is the one having the indictments against them, how are these rhinos that they call them, how are these establishment Republicans going to indict Obama? I don't know if you've been keeping up on current events, but we're getting our asses kicked. PDW. The salt must flow. Let my people go. The fireworks of this move will certainly be interesting. Things are moving quicker and quicker now. They've been saying that for 3 years. Ever since Trump lost and Q disappeared off the face of the earth and there's no more Q drops, for the last 3 years, every time any news story happens, whether it be the Russian invasion of Ukraine, whether it be Trump getting indictment the first time, whether it be Trump now getting indicted the second time, whether it be Trump being found liable for sexual assault, whether it be January 6th, whether it be anything, every single moment, any type of news story has hit the airwaves. They have used it to justify it's coming. They're on the ropes any day now, any day now. These people are no different than like crazed end time prophecy people, man. It's a cult. Gee, you sure got that stickied fast. Just tried to ward off 17 other posts on the same subject, friend. My goodness. Okay, well, while Trump has been indicted, we have now been informed by the Q boards that this is really just the start of Obama in his slow decline and arrest before he is put in front of a military tribunal to be executed by the true patriots, the true heroes of the United States. I'll be waiting. I'll certainly be waiting. Okay. That's enough on the Trump indicted stuff. I think we've talked about that enough. You sound kind of like the T-Rex in Toy Story. That's awesome. Who doesn't like the T-Rex in Toy Story?